Alright, we back. We got some more Fae content for you. Now, today's video was a request from several people, actually. This was the most requested thing that I do. So, we're doing a support unit tier list here today. We're going to look at all of the various support units in Fae. What I mean by support unit is a unit that has various effects on their kit, or possibly even a duo skill that can buff your other allies and make them better. Now, we're also not taking a look at every single support unit. We're taking a look at all the standout ones, and I tried my best to prune this list, because otherwise we'd have been looking at so many other units as well. It's already a sizable list. We've got 75 units in here in total. So we're only focusing on the big ones, and not every duo skill or harmonic skill either, because every single one of them could be considered a support unit in some way. So I tried to only look at the harmonic and duo heroes that already have support in their kit, and then if they grant further support with their duo skill, then that's just a bonus for them. So let's just start right off here in S plus tier. We have 6 total tiers here. So S plus is where like all the god supports are. You run one of these units on your team, and you're instantly noticing how effective their support actually is, how much assistance your other allies are getting from their support effects. So Brave Robin starting us off with that Rally Spectrum. That shit is just bananas. I'm not even going to explain it. We have also Legendary Robin as well, just making his return today on the Legendary banner featuring the Legendary Alir, who we also have on this list. So this guy is giving Master Strategy, or that's not what it's called. What is it called again? Grand Strategy, where he's inflicting debuffs on your team, and then those debuffs are being Unity bonused into bonuses for your allies. So stacking that with Unity is really effective, and there's not really a way to turn off penalties right now, unlike with bonuses on these two. So there's not really a way around this. I mean, there are plays around it. Like, for example, you can run Duo Thor, who is over here. We're going to explain why she's at the bottom in a sec. But you can't really turn off penalties, so this guy is just permanently buffing your units for the most part. And really the only way around it is to hit him with AoEs. And we do have a couple of units that may be able to protect you from those as well. So just a very godly supporter. Then we've got both of the Asker units. Obviously, the Duo one is better because he's also got a Duo skill, and his is reusable. But I can't really separate them by that much when they have the exact same C skill. And it's an insanely powerful one at that. They give the -1 special trigger to all allies in 2 spaces. If you've got an ally on the team in 2 spaces that's not from Fire Emblem Heroes, which is very easy to do. And then you get Resonant Blades and Resonant Shields also. So just god tier support by both of them. Then we got these two over here, as if I even need to explain this. If I need to explain why these two are up here, then I don't even know what to tell you, man. Just like, go home, grab your crayons and your coloring book, and just color. Like, if I have to explain these two. Okay, King Freyr is a god of support. He just party-wide heals and cleanses your team of all penalties, and then he also grants defense and res up 6 to allies within 2 spaces of him. The fact that this starts at the same time as the enemy turn is really, really bananas, and it makes him so good. He's just like a god. He saved Anima Season pretty much from this bitch right here. So Freyr forever is in our debt. Also, he's really good in Summoner Duels, too. I was not expecting him to be as effective as he was in Summoner Duels. I knew he was going to be good, but, like, just the amount of impact he has, like, cleansing all penalties is so effective. It's really strong. So he's nice. Like, Duo Thor, for example, one of the best Summoner Duels unit. She inflicts stall and exposure, and this guy just gets rid of that. So he's like, I can't even describe how effective he is. Legendary Hinoka is in the same boat as these two. If I need to explain this, then you're probably playing the wrong game. All right, we have Lindy as well. I'm not the biggest fan of Lindy herself as a unit, but I can't deny her support is just, like, absurd. She gives null follow-up to allies in 2 spaces and also nullify terrain penalties. So your calves can move through trenches, and this is not affected also by Flared Sparrow, as we previously thought. They just worded that skill really terribly. So Caden Lindy can still allow your ranged units to pass through the flame tiles caused by Flared Sparrow. So that's just another bonus for her, I guess. But also, she's just like a really insane support with the null follow-up and the terrain penalty neutralization. And then finally, we've got Duo Ymir as well. I have the other Ymir in a tier below. That's because this one's got a duo skill that's reusable on every odd numbered turn. So theoretically, in summoner duels, you could pop this duo skill 3 times, which is really good for action economies. Sometimes you just want to like pop in action, but you don't want to move a unit in summoner duels. If you're at like a standstill with the enemies and the first person that ends in action is just like waiting to get sniped or something like that. So sometimes you just want to pop in action without wasting a unit's action itself. So duo skills are very helpful for that. And her duo skill is very good. It heals all allies by 20% HP or 20 HP. And then it neutralizes penalties as well, similar to King Freyr. So just a very, very solid support there. And Ever-Living Domain is the real reason why she's up here. It just gives Miracle to all allies within 2 spaces if their HP is over 75%. So, stop in the one-shot meta. We have entered into a one-shot meta here where units are just coming with pre-charged specials, or they're getting so much special acceleration that they're able to clap you with those specials right away, and they're turning off DR as well. So, like, being able to have protection against that is very, very strong. So, Ymir has to be in here. All right, next up, we move to S tier. These guys are still really, really potent supports. I'm not going to tell you, like, Citrine is any worse than anyone up here, but all of these guys do have, like, some sort of flaw here and there that I don't think are really present with the stuff in S+. So Sorin is granting, what's it called again? Assigned Decoy. So he can turn a unit that has the highest defense on your team or his support ally into a save unit. And then he's also granting all stats of 6 to himself and that unit as well. So a very nice and a very unique support there. So he's got to be in S tier. He can only do it to 1 unit, though. Well, he can technically do it to 2 units if they have equal defense and he doesn't have any ally support. It can be a little bit clunky, though, at times. So that's the reason he's not an S+. And there's also not really much reason to give it to the whole party, because save skills will start to clash at that point and they'll start to cancel each other out. So he really only wants to be giving it to 2 specific units at most. 1 for the most part, though. And you got to work around it from there. It requires a lot of strategy involved and like how you want to set that up. So we've got him in S tier. Duo Chrom, all he really does in support in his base kit is give special acceleration whenever he pops his reposition. So you could argue he could probably even move down. Like, the other units in here are offering way more support than just -1 special trigger. But then he's got the duo skill too that also gives grand strategy. So that could also really play up to how effective this guy can be if you're running a bunch of Unity units. And maybe you're running like a full Awakening team. You got like Legendary Robin, you got this guy, you got Cordelia as well. Like, you can really start to do some nutty things with a full-on Awakening team. We have next up Citrine, who is the reason why I have her in S tier. I could easily move her up to S+, but to really get the most out of her, you oftentimes need another unit to support her as well. So it takes 2 units to really get the most out of Citrine. For example, Eliwood would be able to give her bonus doubler, and then she would then be able to give bonus doubler to the rest of the team. But, like, taking 2 units to do all of that, like, to give bonus doubler to the whole team when this guy here just gives Rally Spectrum to the whole team by himself, which is already almost as effective as bonus doubler. Actually, it's more effective because you can't lull the bonuses to turn it off, and you also get the special acceleration. So, like, that's the reason why I have Citrine down here. She takes 2 units for the price of 1. But she is very powerful, obviously. Both of the Elywoods are in here. They only give bonus doubler to 1 unit at a time, which, well, unless your whole team has the same attack stat, which in that case they can give it to everybody. But you also have to run a dragon on the team for the young Eliwood if you want to also get the stats. And for this guy, he's not quite as efficient in combat as the young one. So they both got, like, advantages over each other. But for the most part, I would have them just 1 tier below. Like, Brave Robin is just doing way more for way less of a, like, trade-off. We've got Fallen Maria as well down here. Now, I feel like Duo Ymir's is probably better. Her miracle support is better now than Fallen Maria, because Maria's is only going to proc once per fight, whereas as long as you're over the HP requirement with Ymir, you're always going to be able to get Ever-Living Domain. So that's why I've got this Maria down here. But she does also give all stats of 4 as a drive bonus to allies in 2 spaces. So she's giving more than just the miracle, which is nice. We have Medius as well, who's giving On Guard. He's the only unit that does that, and if you're running a save ball defense in Aether Raids D, like, you have to run this guy. There's no going around that. The Bolt Tower is the ultimate way to stop save balls, and he just shuts that off. So you're not really running any effective kind of armor ball without this guy, so you gotta run him. But he's not so impactful in summoner duels at all, so that's why he's in S tier. Legendary Alir, who we just got today, she grants the null damage reduction effect to her support ally and herself. There's no range limit on that, so you can be anywhere on the map, and as long as your support ally is deployed alongside this Alir, you're able to nullify DR with both of them when they proc their specials. So you can already see, like, some of the sick combos you can do with that. Imagine Brave Gulveg finally being able to null DR. And the list goes on. There's a lot of really awesome units that can pair with her. So that's why I've got her in S tier, but she can only really do it to 1 unit per team. So that is the one trade-off with her. I have the regular Ymir 1 spot below the Duo Ymir. She's about as equal as Fallen Maria. She doesn't have a duo skill like this one, though, and she's a little bit clunkier, too. She is a Dragon Cavalry type, and she wants to be using her rally or reposition or like movement assist in order to give the party-wide heal, whereas this one just does it for free with a duo skill. So she has to use an action, which is why she's below this one. Now, Flame Tana is up next. This is a unit that I've actually came around to quite a bit. At first, I wasn't the biggest fan of her when she came out, but with the advent of Soaring Guidance and Guidance 4, I feel like this Tana has actually shot up in value quite a bit. There's an argument to even be made that she may be the best user of Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance, because she's also giving Canto 1 support. So the idea there is that you put her wherever you want, like 2 spaces ahead of whoever you want to jump, and then you're allowed to jump with that unit, you can attack the enemies, and then you can Canto back to safety. It's only 1 space, but depending on where your armored units are, if you have save skill protection for the unit that's jumping in, that's actually invaluable. Being able to, like, jump in with Guidance 4 and then Canto back after you attack. So I do think she deserves to be in S tier. She also has a duo skill which can dance allies from Fire Emblem Heroes, which there are no shortage of good units from Fire Emblem Heroes. Alright, and then finally, to wrap up the S tier, we've got Jarek, who just got the godliest refine we could have ever imagined for him. He gives a party-wide pulse effect if his HP is higher than those allies, so anyone with less HP than him is getting -1 special trigger. They also gain null panic and null penalties in combat, and then they're also getting attack and speed up 6. So, like, an insane amount of party-wide support to be giving, and then you can also top it off by giving him infantry pulse in the C skill, so infantry allies are getting pulsed even more. This guy's just really good. He could also fight, too. He's a pretty solid fighter with the refine. So they did this man a lot of justice with that. Alright, so next up, we're moving on to A tier. We've got some questionable, like, really interesting kind of supports. We're getting into, like, gray areas, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Starting off with Brave Corrin, I don't really see any reason not to have her in A tier. She gives the Dragon Vein Stone support, which gives defense and res up 6 to allies that are within the stone tiles. And then she also does a -10 true damage reduction against specials when they proc, and also 50% protection against AoE specials. I feel like Goto is probably about as good as her, though, because Goto's also giving defense and res up 6, and then he also gives 80% DR protection against AoE specials. So they're about the same. They're about equal. We've got the 2 Sigurd units here. They give +1 movement and also attack up 6 to all allies on the team after they proc their special. But you gotta attack with them to get that off. If it was like a start a turn bonus, these 2 would have been like S+ easily. But you have to use your action with them. You have to have them attack first to do it, so that's why they're down here. We have the 2 Ash units as well. They can Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance, or even better, because Cavalry units can jump in as well. So they're able to do that, and then they also give Joint Drive Attack essentially to whoever's jumping in. So nice little support. If you don't have access to Guidance 4, these 2 units are pretty much your option for that. There's also a couple of other units that can do it as well, like the Summer Tana is able to allow allies to jump 2 spaces ahead of her. And I think there's one more unit as well, but I can't remember who it was. I think it's Ascended, what's her face? Ascended Florina. Yeah, she also has that built into her weapon. So there's more ways to Guidance 4 in case you don't have Guidance 4, so that is nice, but I figured these 2 were the ones worth mentioning. We've got Gatekeeper as well, who has technically he's only got 1 support effect. He's giving attack and speed up 5 as a drive bonus to allies in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on him. But that is such an insane radius of effect and such a really good status bonus to be giving that I feel the need to have him in A tier. And then he can just help the team out by doing a ton of other things. You can give him Kanto Control, he's got Warp Bubble, he's got Obstruct. So this dude is just super helpful. We have the 2 Bernadettas. These are like a gray area unit. Actually, should I put them down like next to the other gray area units? I don't know, but their support that they're offering to the team is that they chip all your units down by 1 HP. So how is that helpful, you may be asking? You can use it to set up a whole bunch of degeneracy. So you can use like Reciprocal Aid on units to get them into Vantage range or Desperation range and just set up your units that way. And a whole bunch of other things. In Aether Raids, you can have them just chip HP down so that a unit with Return Plus, like a staff unit, can jump in. Use Return and then extend Reach so you can like catch people off guard. There's a lot of things, a lot of applications for the chip damage on these 2, so I have them in here as supporters because no one else really does what they do. But is it really a support or is it a setup? I mean, that's where it's a gray area. Next up, we have the male and female Alear. I use the male Alear here because we just got the legendary one and she was female Alear. So, not to confuse anyone, I just used easy peasy male Alear there. So, his support ally is going to be gaining charge, which is very good. He can only do it to 1 unit per team, though, so that's the downside there. But charge is insanely strong, and for example, you could give charge to Citrine, and then Citrine would be giving your entire team charge. So that's like another reason why Citrine could be bumped up. But again, that takes 2 units to do, whereas Hinoka technically could just give the whole team charge if you're running all flyers, right? So, I mean, that's where like Alear and Citrine are a little bit lower than something like Hinoka. Next up, we've got a whole plethora of dancers here. We've got Legendary Azura, Hatari Azura. We got regular Peony and then Duo Peony. All of them can run Firestorm Dance 3. I could have put more dancers on this list because they can all run Firestorm Dance 3. But I tried to pick dancers that are doing other support effects besides that. The two Azuras also give +1 movement. This one also gives Null Panic. And then this one's got a Duo skill, and you can use that to get an extra action and some extra stats as well on allies from the same titles. So that's where they're good. And then this Peony can neutralize penalties now after she dances. She also gives a party-wide, well, not party-wide, but allies that are within cardinal directions are gaining a warp effect, so they can jump to allies within 2 spaces after she dances. She also gives all stats up 3, and then she has a very long drive bonus where enemies or allies in cardinal directions are getting, what is it, all stats up 4 now after her remix. So that's pretty strong. You can also give her Guidance 4 or Cross Spur Attack, as you can do with the Duo Peony as well, to just give them massive amount of attack support to allies. So that's why I've got these 2 in there. Ascended Alincia is a really nice support too. She gives attack and speed up 6 to allies in 2 spaces and a guaranteed follow-up as well. But she's a healer too and a flyer, so you can run Guidance 4, Soaring Guidance, like Odd and Even Tempest, or rather, Odd and Even Recovery. So she's got a lot of support options in the tank. And then we got these 2 over here. These 2 are also kind of sus. Like, what are they doing on a support unit tier list? Dagger's got Pathfinder. That's probably more considerable as a support than what Yuri is doing, because you get Pathfinder on her, and then you can pop the duo skill to give everybody Pathfinder in all stats of 6. So this can lead to setups and combos. And the same is said for Yuri, although it's in a different way. The way that he does it is by moving first and then using foul play to get somebody into a better position, and then he cantos to safety. So the prime target for this would be like Summer Edelgard. You have Yuri walk onto a trap in Aether Raids. You have him foul play in your Edelgard, and then he can cancel away. And then Edelgard is free to just bust up the enemies with Gale Force and all the actions she can take. So that's the strategy with this guy, and it's pretty effective. I can't ignore like how good this is. But like, what kind of support do we classify that as? Is it like tactical support or like positional support? I don't know. It's very different and very unique from what everyone else is doing, so I thought at least it worth mentioning these two over here, because they are very good. Alright, next up we have B tier. Again, I would say like B tier is probably the cutoff point where these are the units you would still want to be using for support, and then once we get to like C and D tier, this is where it gets a little booty. So like you may not want to be running these particular units, but the support you can get from B tier is still quite sizable. So starting off with Groom Roy, he gives attack and speed up 6 to all non-dragon and non-beast allies within 3 spaces of him, which is a pretty lenient condition there. 3 spaces instead of 2, we'll take that. And then with his duo skill, he also gives Treachery, Resonant Shields, and Defense and Res up 6. So he's a pretty strong buffer when you count for his duo skill as well, so I've got him in B tier, but in Aether Raids, for example, you're not always going to have access to that duo skill if they've got duo's hindrance. Valoria is nuts. I'm actually kind of shocked how well Valoria held up, like all these years later. All she does is give her support ally and herself -2 special trigger at the start of the turn, and that just leads to very consistent Gale Forcing. So you can run her and somebody else and just Gale Force wombo combo people in Aether Raids. So that's why she's in here, but compared to like other big special cooldown reduction units, she doesn't really hold up as well as them, who are just doing it party-wide, and then she only does it for the support ally. Next up, we've got Hater, a unit that I'm not really the biggest fan of. Every single time I've used this unit, it just makes me feel like I should be using Catria or Cordelia instead. The reason why is because a lot of her good support effects are locked behind turns. So Treachery, you need to wait until turn 4 before she can give that out. And then also, like, Dual Strike, you gotta wait until... Hold on, let me get my facts straight with her. Yeah, let me make sure we're getting all of the turn counts right. So, Hater. Alright, Gold Serpent. So, for Dual Strike, you gotta wait until turn 4. Actually, that's worse. I would rather be getting Dual Strike on turn 3 than Treachery. So, yeah, you gotta wait 4 turns before you can get your Brave attacking with Hater. That's kind of a no-no. Whereas you can just get it on turn 1 with Catria and Cordelia. And then Treachery is really nice. Helps you just blow up tanks. So I can get why people really like her for Aether Raids, because if they're fighting whaled up defenses with a bunch of armored units, then this is an easy way to break through. But once again, just use these two instead. I feel they're better. They can be ran on any season because you can bless them, whereas this unit is only runnable for Chaos and Astra season. And that's pretty much all there is to say about her. I really wish she had a reposition assist as well, but she doesn't. These two are able to give triangle attack, and they can still run repositions, so... I don't know, man. I'm just kind of down on her. She's just very clumsy to use. She can be effective, though. That's why I have her in B tier. I do see very good use for her, but not the biggest fan myself. Legendary Hector, he's got pulse support on his team, or pulse support on his C skill for the team if you have a tactic skill condition. So you can't have more than 2 allies that are from the same movement type in order to get the pulse. And then he also gives defense and res up 6 to all allies wherever they may be on the map. So it's a pretty solid support still. It's not the worst. Then we've got Fallen Lilith, who can give null follow-up to her ally support. And then she can also warp within 2 spaces of them wherever they may be on the map. So that's not really conducive of a support effect, though, but the null follow-up portion is. Once again, Citrine can be our girl. You can have her ally support with Lilith. And then you can give null follow-up to the entire party, similar to what Lindy does. But once again, this is requiring you to use 2 different units here. So maybe it's not as efficient as just using 1 unit to do that. All right, next up we have Astrid, who's able to give a rally support effect. She gives, what is it? Bonus stuff. Hold on. I believe she also gives +1 movement too, but let's see. It's been a hot minute since I've used Astrid, honestly. But let's just make sure here. Okay, yeah, she does give 1 extra movement space, and she gives bonus doubler to the target of her rally skill, and she can only give the bonus movement to cavalry allies that are not ranged, and for everybody else, it's just +1 movement, so pretty good effect there. I mean, getting bonus doubler and +1 movement is pretty solid, right? The only downside is that she can only do it to 1 unit, and it also costs her action for the turn, so not quite as efficient as Eliwood's that can just do it at the start of the turn without using an action. So that's why she's all the way down here, but still could be efficient. Then we've got Noah. Surprise unit. You would never expect this guy to be kind of a decent support. So with his ally support, he can grant allies dodge and also nullify foe bonuses in combat, which is pretty sick because nobody else really does that. No one gives dodge and nullify enemy bonuses in combat like that. So that's pretty cool with him. But like as far as being a unit goes, he's not like the craziest. He's solid. He's not awful, but he's not the craziest. And again, he can only do it to 1 ally as opposed to like some of the guys up here that are just party-wide supporting. And then finally, we've got Little Miss Na, who gives defense and res up 6, and then she gives special acceleration to allies in 2 spaces at the start of the turn. So pretty solid support effect. She can also run some cool infantry support effects too, like Infantry Pulse or like Canto Control. I don't know if we want to count that as a support. That's more like enemy disruption, but it's a thing you can do. You could also give her like sudden panic and stuff. So she's got some options. She's not the worst. Definitely deserving of being in B tier. And now C tier is where we start falling off a cliff a little. A lot of the units here are just giving drive bonuses, or they're giving like start of turn stats, and we need to be doing more than just getting start of turn stats. See how a lot of the units up here are giving stats, and then they're also giving effects. So like Astrum gives all stats up 6 to allies in 2 spaces of him at the start of the turn, but he doesn't give any effects, so I mean that's just stat ball buffing. Same with Fa, she gives all stats up 5, but again we need some bonus effects there, not just stats. Legendary Roy is giving attack and speed up 6 to allies in 2 spaces that are not dragon or beast. So you could argue he's actually even worse of a buffer than these two, but still, like, party-wide buffing I still value, so we got him in C tier. Tiki does defense and res up 6 to allies in 2 spaces. So that, similar to Roy, like, they're just buffing stats. Ashura is slated to get a remix, actually, in this batch, so who knows where she's going to end up after that happens. But for now, she's just giving attack and res up 6 and null panic to allies in 2 spaces. We have better ways to get null panic, including better stat, like, bonuses included on these units. So Asher is all the way in C tier here. Layla is just a worse version of Yuri. She's very clumsy to use, and she also needs to be using ally support to swap places, whereas Yuri just runs in and then foul plays and then cantos himself away. So he's just way more effective at doing that than Layla is. Legendary Female Byleth is a unit that I kind of wanted to have higher, but it's a drive. Her effect is a drive bonus. She gives drive tempo. Now that's very good, actually. Tempo is a really good effect to be getting, but as a drive bonus, man, you couldn't give that as a start a turn bonus to allies in 2 spaces. That would have been busted as hell. She would have been like all the way up in S+ if she could have just did that. But having it as a drive bonus, there's no guarantee you're going to be player phasing and you're going to have her within 2 spaces when you want to get the tempo. So that's why I have to have her in C tier. Same with this guy. He gives null follow-up as a drive, but there's no guarantee he's going to be within 2 spaces of allies to give the null follow-up bonus when they're attacking. So I have to have these two down here, even though they give pretty interesting effects compared to everything else in C. Caden is able to give drive all stats bonuses based on whatever his blue bonuses are. So kind of like jumping through hoops there. You have to be able to buff Caden to give buffs to whoever he's supporting, which is kind of weird. But then he also gives guard as a support effect too, which is really strong. So Caden, he's not the worst, but like using him is very clumsy. And in terms of like his in-combat potential, he's not really that great either. So I've got him in C tier. Sarah is just like dead in a ditch after Freyr came out. She's only able to nullify penalties on one ally at the start of the turn. It's the ally that has the lowest HP. She also gives attack and speed up 6 to them though, but like Freyr just heals and cleanses your whole team. So I can't really recommend Sarah as much anymore, but she's still a healer. It's still a nice little effect, and she can still run stuff like odd and even recovery too. So we've got her in C tier. Air has, what is it called? Sparkling Boost 2 or Sparkling Boost Plus, something like that. I think it gives res up 5 now to allies that are in combat. As long as she's on the map, it doesn't matter where she is. Let's just double check the facts there. Let's see here. So we're looking for Air, and we're looking for her remixed C skill. Alright, so at the start of turn, recovers 20 HP to the ally that has been dealt the most damage. Pretty helpful, honestly. And then in combat, if allies' HP is over 50%, they get res up 5, regardless of where she is on the map. So that's a pretty solid effect. Drive, res up 5, and then the start of turn heal can be pretty nice. So we got her in C tier. It's not like the craziest support, though, so that's why she's in C tier. Then we got a bunch of healing units here. We've got Flane, we've got the Duo Hilda, and then we've got also Elamine here. I don't really know what else to say about them. They give drive bonuses. Flane is giving drive damage reduction by 30% on the first hit. Actually, is it the first hit? It might be all hits. Hold on. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might be all hits, not just the first hit. Let's see. Yeah, it's on all hits, pretty much. 30% DR from enemy attacks, and then she also gives... Actually, that's it. She doesn't give stats or anything. I thought she gave, like, defense and res up 4. But that's okay. You can give her support skills. You could give her, like, joint distant guard. You could give her joint drive attack, joint drive speed. You could give her flying, soaring guidance, guidance 4, odd and even recovery. So she's got a lot of other options she can run besides just her weapon. But, drive, like, we're moved past drive bonuses now, and we're starting to look for start-of-turn bonuses. Same with this Hilda. She can run pretty much all the healing flying skills that Flane can. Her support bonus is giving attack up 6, and then also a breath effect to allies in 2 spaces, so enemy attacks are giving you special acceleration. Would have been preferable if your attacks also did that too, but, it is what it is. Elamine is giving the drive drive damage reduction, and then her weapon also gives defense and res up 6 to all allies within 2 spaces at the start of the turn. But unfortunately, her C skill is occupying the drive support, so you wouldn't really want to run flyer guidance or soaring guidance or odd and even recovery on her. But at the very least, she's still giving defense and res up 6 like TE, so I gotta have her here. Milla is interesting. She gives a lot of drive bonuses in a pretty wide radius. What is it? 7 tiles and 7 columns around her? Hold on. Yeah, dude, Milla's, like, support radius is the craziest in the game. You might as well just say all allies on the field are just getting her bonus. So, what are we looking at here? Defense up 3. All right, that's she's giving to herself. She gives all stats up 4 to allies in 7 rows and 7 columns. Yeah, that is nuts. That's a really wide radius of effect. That's even crazier than Gatekeeper's. Except Gatekeeper is giving 1 more points of attack and speed. And then she also has another support effect on her C skill after the remix too. So I believe she... Where is it? Is it here or... Hold on, it might still be on her weapon. She has an effect where allies are also able to neutralize enemies' bonuses to attack. Yeah, it's right here. Okay, so if you're within 7 rows and 7 columns centered on Milla, you also, in tandem with the all stats up 4, you're gaining neutralized bonuses to foes' attacks. So if they have a blue bonus to attack, they got like +6 attack, you just take it off. So that is pretty cool. Maybe we could move Milla up, actually, because her, like, the radius on that is really strong, and then also she does give an additional effect. I think I'm going to bump Milla up, actually. Yeah, I do like what I'm seeing with her more than what we've got over here. Next up, we've got Fallen Ninian, who is another dancer, so you can run, like, all the dance stuff. You can give her Cross Spur Attack, which she comes with. You can give her Firestorm Dance 3, and then her dance support is giving, what is it, attack up 6, and then also bonus movement if you're a dragon type. Now, this would be really good if we had more cavalry dragons, but we don't. These are the only ones, pretty much, and they're not particularly great. So, I have to have Ninian all the way down here. Maybe we could move her up still. Like, she's still got Firestorm Dance 3. She's got access to that, which is good. Yeah, I'll probably move her up as well. And then finally, we've got Annette, who is just a way worse version of Astrid. All she does is grant the bonus movement to whoever she rallies, and that's it. She does not give bonus doubler. I don't think. Maybe she... Actually, maybe she does. Hold on. It's been a real long time since I've used Annette. Maybe she does also give bonus doubler. No, she doesn't. She just gives the +1 movement. Yeah, so Astrid is just way better than her, and even Astrid is not good enough to crack into A and S tiers. So Annette's all the way down here. And then finally, D tier is like just all a bunch of drive bonuses. Good luck using Brave Lucina. Her drive support bonus for the breath effect is also weapon locked. So it doesn't give to magic allies. It's only physical type damaging weapons. So bows, daggers, sword, lances, axes, etc. Both of the Thors have World Breaker, which is a drive special acceleration in combat effect, but we're not even running that on them anymore. We're running Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance. So these two, they're very powerful. Well, this one in particular is a very powerful unit, but not so much as support in terms of like her support role. George has got Joint Drive Attack, but he gives attack up 5 on his weapon. Maybe he'll be interesting when he gets his refine, but who knows. Gilliam is giving IO Shield to allies within 2 spaces that are flyers. Now, that's not particularly great, but can you imagine if he was giving Surveillance Shield to allies in 2 spaces? That would be nuts. That would be the tits, actually. That would bump him up quite a bit of tiers. So maybe one day we'll get a unit that can do that, and that will be crazy. Then we've got Niffle and Moosepel. Both of them give... What is it? Domain of Ice and Domain of Flame. This one, Domain of Ice, is doing 30% DR on the enemy's first attack. So unlike Flame, it's only for 1 hit. But then she also gives Speed and Res up 4. Domain of Flame is doing attack and defense up 4. And then it gives you augmented damage based on the difference between your attack and the enemy's res. So it's pretty solid. I mean, they're not bad for drive supports. But again, drive supports... We need start a turn bonuses here. We need to start doing that instead of driving. We have the New Year Valoria, who... What is it? For her support ally... I haven't used this Valoria in a long time. I believe her support ally is getting special acceleration in combat. Let's see here. Alright, if units in 2 spaces of a support partner, inflicts attack speed -6 on foe, grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack. And then grants special cooldown charge +1 per attack to support partners in 2 spaces. Yeah. Yeah, that's only for 1 unit. Unlike Lucina, you can use it on all weapon types, but nah, dude. No, just no. August. Okay, Male Pattern Baldness Man. This guy, very interesting unit. So, you need a unit to die, actually, to get the most out of his support. Let's pull him up real quick. This dude is very, very funny. I remember when he came out, I actually thought he was dope for, like, summoner duels where you're probably going to lose a unit. So, let's see here. He grants attack, defense, and res up 6 and the following status to his support partner. If unit initiates combat, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. So, that's okay. Some nice stat bonuses and then a guaranteed follow-up attack. And then, if at least one ally has been defeated, he gives special cooldown count -2 and the following status to the support partner. Foe can't make a follow-up attack. So, actually, like, that's kind of better than everything we've seen here. That's at least worthy of being C tier, I would say. So, we could probably bump him up, but you still have to need an ally to die to get the real good portion of his effect, which is the special acceleration. So, that's why that's very questionable. And it's only to 1 ally, the support ally, so you can only use him in summoner duels. You're not going to be able to lose a unit in anything else. So, that's why He's not really that great. And then finally, we have Ascended Hilda to wrap up this list. So Ascended Hilda gives all stats up 3, and I think 20% damage reduction. Let me just pull up Hilda real quick so we can wrap this up. All right, Ascended Hilda. So she's giving all stats up 3 and then 20% damage reduction on only the first attack. And also, the ally has to have defense higher than Hilda's defense to do it. And Hilda's defense is 34, so like glass cannon units would not really be able to beat her on defense. So a unit like Sorin, for example, that's all attack and res. Like your mage unit, Citrine as well, would not be able to gain it. So yeah, I mean, Hilda, way too conditional. It's not even that great. And I mean, I don't know what else to say, so she's in D tier. So that's pretty much it. That's our support unit tier list. This one went on for quite some time. I wanted to give every unit a little bit of discussion there. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'm still taking requests. So if you want to leave a request for a video, also go ahead and leave a comment. And this is your boy Tacho signing out. So take care, fellas, and I'll catch y'all again on the flip side.